back, everyone. We're still here with Mvula. You can see that he's obviously had a bit of a tough night out, and so he's having a hard sleep. It's still magnificent to see a cat like this sleeping. His heaving belly. You can see, as Vian pointed out to me quite nicely, he has definitely eaten something last night, but it's highly unlikely that it was anything very large, because he then would have stashed it and kept it in a tree, unless he's had it stolen by hyenas. It may have been another scrub hare or two. Lifted his face to say goodbye to the other guests who are here. So you can see very clearly now the 3 spots on the left-hand side of his face. Oh, his eyes are getting very heavy and out. Jeffrey in Texas, welcome to this magnificent sighting of this great African cat. You've asked a question about a leopard, which is a hybrid between a leopard and a lion, and whether that happens in the wild. It doesn't happen in the wild. In fact, it's almost... nothing's impossible in nature, but I'd say it's almost impossible. I'd be 99.9% sure that it would be impossible for it to happen in the wild, because a lion will normally kill a leopard if they get within close enough proximity. Mating would just not happen out here. That said, I'm sure your question is born of a knowledge that they have hybridized in captivity before. Often animals of the same genus will be able to hybridize in captivity. So horses and donkeys are the same genus, Equus, and so they are often able to hybridize, but they don't produce what we call viable offspring. So that's offspring that can mate. The same can be said for the leopard and for the liger, which is a mixture between a tiger and a lion, which also happens in captivity, probably more frequently than with the leopards and lions because of the size difference. Tigers and lions are more similar size. But none of those animals are in fact viable. They're all sterile, like a mule. Welcome to this great sighting of Mvula. You've asked, will it be difficult for him to take down big prey as he gets older? The answer is, of course, yes. As he gets older, his strength will start to wane in the next 4 years. Probably when he's about 14, his strength will start to go down. That's not to say that he will be unable to live beyond 14 years, but his strength will start to ebb from then. And so his ability to take down things like an adult female kudu, which is probably around about the size limit of what he can take now, his ability to do that will slowly disappear with his strength. Very old leopards are often the most dangerous to humans, if you can describe a leopard as dangerous, simply because they start to go for weaker and weaker prey. They'll eat more carrion, and they'll take... An old and sick leopard will become more and more desperate. while Mvula rests his weary head in the grass, I'm just going to tell you about a tree, or ask you about a tree first. You can see this tree above me here. Maybe also seen the leopard's ears twitching as I picked it. This tree, we looked at its cousin yesterday, and from here up to Ethiopia, this tree is commonly known as the toothbrush tree. It's become such a cliche that I'm not going to show you why it's called the toothbrush tree. I'm not going to give you its real name because I'm going to allow you to try and find that out for me. But what I will say to you is that it gets its name because it's used as a divining rod. And for those who are not sure what that means, a divining rod is a Y-shaped stick that some people say they can use to tell if there's underground water or not. And this tree is traditionally used in Africa as a divining rod, and its specific Latin name comes from its ability to be used to divine water. It also produces a delicious, deep sort of purple berry come the summertime. Important source of food for monkeys, for people, and it makes a very sort of purpley red dye, which is quite nice. Tree for Mvula to mark his territory in because it's so seldom eaten. Noreen, I believe you'd like to know the difference between a leopard and a panther. A panther, traditionally, as far as I'm aware, is the term used for a black leopard or a melanistic leopard. Now, what a melanistic leopard, like the one, for example, found in storybook fable, like the Jungle Book, the black leopard in that, or the black cat, the panther in that story is in fact a black leopard. And what happens there is that there's a genetic aberration where the white, or the white in the fur is actually much darker, and it happens across species, it happens across classes. So, you get melanistic Gabar goshawks, for example, or melanistic leopards. There have even been, I think there are 1 or 2 records of melanistic lions. So a panther is a melanistic or black leopard, and a black leopard is it's sort of a very dark chocolatey brown color, but in good light, you will see that it still has the same spots. Not a great color to be out here, and that's why it hasn't sort of made a greater evolutionary mark in the world, but in deep forest, that's normally where you'll find it. It's still extremely rare, but it's a much better color to be if a leopard is living in deep forests. It's even rarer amongst lions. You also get a form of color aberration called leucism, which is the other end of the scale, where there is far less pigment, or not pigment. There's far less color to the pelage, and the most famous examples of those of a leucistic sort of mutation in the cats are the white lions of the Timbavati. But again, it happens across leopards. It happens, I think it even happens in some fish. The best way to see it, if you ever want to look at the different color aberrations, you to go and look at the domestic pigeon, or as Brent likes to call them, the rats of the sky. Because they live in urban environments, they have tended to, they've hybridized a lot with each other, and you can see melanistic ones, you can see leucistic ones, and you can see rufous morph ones as well. Leopards also come in something called a strawberry leopard, which is a sort of form of rufous morph, where there's a reddish tinge to the pelage, but always with the spots.
Had an answer to our quiz. Sherry was the first correct identifier of the magic worry bush. The Latin name is Euclea divinorum, and the divinorum comes from the supposed ability of the tree to divine water. I think water divining is still quite a big thing in various parts of the world. The scientists will tell you that it's fairly meaningless, but there are many who swear by it, and I know people who have found water through divining it, sometimes even with this tree. About jaguars and panthers. Anna-Marie, jaguar is also a member of this genus, the Panthera genus, along with tigers and lions. And yes, you would also get a melanistic or black jaguar in some cases. Probably, I'm guessing here, but it's probably more common there where there are jaguars in South America, because there's less savanna, so they would spend more time in the deep shade of the jungle or the Amazon forest. So yes, you would get a black jaguar, and some people may call that a panther. Remember the name of the panther in Kipling's Jungle Book, and it is, of course, Bagheera. He was the panther. I think we're going to leave Mvula here to lie up in the shade. I don't think he's going to do much for the rest of the day. That said, we may come back and find that he's killed a kudu, and then I'll be proved wrong. But let's go and check out some of the water holes. The heat is starting to build a bit, and there may be a few animals coming down to have their breakfast drinks. Wander off, I'm going to hand you back to Brent, who's still tracking, doing what he does best, which is find animals, and we'll catch you just now.